So which action camera is the best for motovlogging? Is it the Action 4, the GoPro 12, the Ace Pro, the X4, or the Insta360 Go 3? In today's video, I'm going to go through all these cameras to help you make a better decision based on your needs when it comes to motovlogging, and we're also going to include the DJI Mic 2 as our main audio source.
Now, let's start with the Action 4. And we're using 4K 30 FPS now, and we have the ultra wide field of view, and we have the normal color profile in 10 bits, and also auto white balance, and everything is basically auto straight out of the box when it comes to this comparison between all these cameras. And we also have the sharpness set to -2 on the Action 4, which is equal to the low sharpness of these other cameras, which we will come to in a bit. So yeah, this is the footage coming from the Action 4, and I'm also using the DJI Mic 2 connected to the Action 4 via Bluetooth, and this is the audio source we're going to use throughout this entire video. Now, one of the things I really like with the Mic 2 is the seamless connection with the Action 4, and that is one thing, and the other thing is that it also has internal recording, so I can use this with all types of cameras. It doesn't have to be the Action 4, because I can sync it up in post later, which is fantastic, and what I need to do with a few cameras in this test. But the other thing is that with the connection of the Action 4 and the Mic 2, we do have more features to choose from, so we can select if we want to have the 32-bit float on or off, and the same goes with low cut and also the master volume, and I believe there is a few more things as well. So we have more adjustments to do to make the audio fit the different voices that we have. Some have more bass in their voice and some have less, and some voices are brighter than others and so on. So we have a few more adjustments that we can do in or with the Mic 2 and the Action 4, which is fantastic and something you won't find with any of the other cameras. Now let's just do a quick pit stop here, and let's change over to the Ace Pro. The Ace Pro has a Bluetooth connection with the Mic 2, which is fantastic, but for motovlogging it sounds like this when it comes to riding a motorcycle. So yeah, let's switch over to the Action 4 now. So that means I have to do the internal recording on the Mic 2, and then later just sync this up in my editing software, which I'm completely fine with because it doesn't take that long. And the trick that I use when I do this is to simply just flick my fingers at the beginning, so I can easily sync up the video or the audio coming from the video and the recording coming from the Mic 2. So we now switch over to the Ace Pro, and this is the audio coming from the Ace Pro's 8K sensor, shooting 4K 30 FPS, standard color profile, and also sharpness set to low, and yeah, everything set to auto. The mic I'm using is still the DJI Mic 2, but the differences here between the Ace Pro and the Action 4 is that I now have to sync it up in post. So it doesn't really matter to me anyway, because the syncing process is extremely easy. You just snap your fingers or make any sound really, which allows you to easily find the peaks in the audio, and you just stack these on top of each other in post-production in your editing software, and you're done. So that's basically what I've done. But yeah, this is the Ace Pro in 4K 30. I don't want to shoot in 8K because it's limited to 24 FPS, and I shoot in 30 FPS, so that means I have to reshoot everything again, and I'm not going to do that. And 8K is, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the 8K anyway. I mainly use the 8K sensor for the clarity zoom in 4K, which is amazing, but it's not something that you want to use for motovlogging, obviously, because you want the shot to be as wide as possible. So the field of view is also set to Action on the Ace Pro now, and this is the widest field of view. So yeah, this is the Ace Pro. Let's change this up, and let's take the X4 for a spin, and let's see how that looks. So we now changed over to the X4, recording internally with the DJI Mic 2 as well. With every other camera except for the Action 4, I do think this is the best way of doing it to make sure that your audio stays consistent and sounds good. But yeah, with the X4 we're now shooting 8K 30 FPS. We're gonna change over to single lens mode very soon. All the settings are the exact same like the other cameras. So we have auto white balance, we have the standard color profile, we have sharpness set to low, and also the bitrate set to high. Now, one of the things I really like with these 360 cameras is how versatile they are. So I now just swapped it over from the chest harness here and placed it on my handlebar, and now you can see me, or I can turn the camera around and you can see what's in front of me, or I can show you either of the sides, or I can do a top-down tiny planet shot if I want to do that. I can, you know, I'm in full control of how I want to make this look, which is fantastic. And the good thing about this is that everyone using a 360 camera has a different perspective of how things should look, or how they want to share their 360 videos with their audience, which, you know, just adds to the versatility of a 360 camera. And still shooting in 8K 30 FPS, same settings as before. And this is how that looks, and this is how you can frame it inside the mobile app or the studio app. But I really want to show you the single lens mode as well, so let's just do another pit stop and change over to the single lens mode 4K 30 FPS with the same settings, and we're going to do the mega view on that one just to get the widest field of view possible, and we're going to mount it back on my chest harness. Now, when it comes to field of view, it was not the mega view on this one. So we have 4K 30 FPS set to action view. So we have the auto white balance, and we also have the sharpness set to low. We have the bitrate set to high. But 4K 30 FPS is what we are shooting with right now. And yeah, that's what this looks like. Is it good enough to be compared to the Action 4 and the GoPro Hero 12, for example? Let me know in the comments below. So we now change over to the GoPro Hero 12, so that's what you're seeing now, and this is set to 5.3K 30 FPS and the hyper view, the standard without the max lens mod, because that is another $100 if you want to have the max lens mode. I'm just going to show you some clips on top of this with the GoPro Max Lens Mode 2.0, so you can see how that looks yourself. And another thing is that I don't have the media mode, which is another $100 or $79 or something. It means that I have no way of connecting a microphone to the GoPro Hero 12. But the good thing here is that we have the DJI Mic 2, which has internal recording. So because of that, I have now synced up the clips with the GoPro Hero 12, or the footage with the audio, so that means that I can use the internal recording on the DJI Mic 2 and get audio for my GoPro 12 videos despite not having the media mode. And that's one of the best things to be honest with the Mic 2. So I now switch over to the Go 3, shooting 2.7K at 30 FPS. Whether this is comparable to the other cameras which has high resolution, that's up to you to decide, but I really love this camera, and the reason I wanted to bring this into this comparison as well is because it's a huge part of my life, I would say. I use it so much, and I even use it when I'm riding a motorcycle. So whether this is a trusted competitor to the other cameras is up to you to decide, and based on your needs, but it is extremely small, versatile, and for me, riding now and using this on my helmet, I don't feel like I have a heavy brick hanging off my helmet, which is also one of the positive things. Now, one of the downsides with the Go 3 though is that it doesn't have a Bluetooth connection when it comes to microphone, so I cannot connect the DJI Mic 2 directly to the Go 3 via Bluetooth. So I would need to do the same thing as I've done with the GoPro 12 and sync it up and use the internal recording of the Mic 2. But for me, that works completely fine, and I have no issues doing that because the battery life of both these are pretty solid and pretty reliable. So it doesn't matter much to me if this is the step that I have to take in order to get some audio from or to get some better audio. So that's basically how I done it, and we have the same settings as well as the other cameras. So we have auto white balance, sharpness set to low, and resolution 2.7K at 30 FPS. So let me know in the comments below, can this actually, you know, keep up with the higher resolution cameras like the GoPro and the Ace Pro and the Action 4? Let me know in the comments below.
Now, looking back at the footage, they all look amazing, to be honest, and I could use all of them as my motovlog setup. But there is a few things that separates these cameras, especially if you want the audio baked into your video, which I think DJI does best. So with the Action 4, you have much more control over the audio itself in terms of settings you can choose, which you don't have with these other cameras. So after a few attempts, I found something that worked pretty great. And I also took all these cameras out for a spin during sunset, and for this I used the manual settings to get the best possible image quality out of these cameras with minimal adjustments. So the shutter speed was set to 1/120 with an ISO range from 100 to 400, white balance was set to 5500 Kelvin, and I used the standard color profiles on all these cameras. And honestly, they all did a really good job with manual settings except for the Go 3, which is understandable because it's not made for low light. But I think the quality you get during a day ride and the versatility in terms of size and weight really compensates for the low light image. And if this was shot in a city, for example, where there would be a lot more lights, the results could be a little bit better on the Go 3. But I would also say that you wouldn't go wrong with either of these cameras. It's more or less your personal preference of which color you like more and how wide you want the shot to be. The Action 4 tints a little bit more towards the green side, for example, and the Ace Pro and the Go 3 tints a little bit more towards the red side, where the GoPro Hero 12 is overall warmer and the X4 is more natural to my eyes, especially when it comes to manual white balance. But that's also my personal preferences and what I see when I look at the footage coming straight out of the X4. But like I said, this is a personal preference, and you can of course change this in post, or you can change to a different Kelvin in camera as well. But to give you a fair side-by-side experience with all these cameras, every single camera had the same settings. Now for me, my favorite camera is based off of three things: versatility, image quality, and reliability. And if you watched my previous in-depth comparison, you already know that GoPro is high on the list when it comes to motovlogging because of the max lens mod 2 and the image quality. But like I said, versatility is a huge part of how I record videos when I do motovlogging, so nothing beats the versatility of the X4 really. So these two cameras would be my top picks when it comes to motovlogging, even though the Action 4 looks amazing and has the easiest connection with the mic 2. I can still record audio internally with the mic 2 and then sync it up in post later, which is fantastic. But the X4, just like the X3, allows me to capture everything without doing anything. And later I can decide how I want to frame the shots, and if I just want to have that POV look, for example, I can just enable direction lock or use the single lens mode. However, for those times I want to use or record a POV shot, I would probably prefer to use the GoPro Hero 12 or just use the 360 mode on the X4, which in my eyes looks much better than the single lens mode coming from the X4 when you do motovlogging. But it's not like I'm not going to use any of these other cameras because they all look good and they all have different features. Like the Ace Pro, for example, has this huge flip screen, which is really convenient when you want to frame yourself, and the same thing goes with the Go 3, but this can be used without the action pod as well. And not to mention the gesture control that we have with the Ace Pro and the X4. It's just fantastic how you can stop and start recording with this with just raising your palm. But You can also do this, of course, with voice commands, so you can stop and start record with voice commands if you want to do that as well. But this, like I said, comes down to personal preferences. Do you want to say stop recording, start recording, or do you just want to, you know, raise your hand? So this is all personal preferences. But if I could only choose one right now, it would probably be the X4, because I'm so used to using the X3, which has been my main go-to motovlog camera for 2 years now. And I would get the GoPro Hero 12 and the Max Lens Mod 2 instantly when they drop on sale. And of course the mic 2, which I think is essential for motovlogging. So there you have my honest review when it comes to using all these cameras as a motorcycle camera, and I'm really curious to know which camera you prefer. We all have different opinions, and you know, your favorite camera might not be the same as my favorite camera, but if you also want to see my comparison when it comes to traveling and daily or day-to-day use with all these cameras, don't forget to check out my honest review of all these cameras, 10 cameras including the iPhone, down in the description below. And also let me know which of these cameras, if you do motovlogging, of course that's what this video is about, if you do that, which camera is your favorite camera? Let me know in the comments below.